Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another board game breakfast. I'm Roy Canning.
I'm Chris Yee.
And I'm Wendy Yee.
I forgot which way we're going to go.
Clockwise time. But we just got back from the Dice Tower retreat, but we're excited to start another week with you. It is Tuesday, right?
It
is Tuesday.
Board game breakfast on a Tuesday. We had you fast for a whole day, so that way we could have it now.
Wait, they weren't allowed to eat breakfast until the show started?
Absolutely
No.
not. No.
I ate breakfast yesterday.
Yeah, but we're different.
You're
We're
doing
special.
it wrong.
Oh, okay. All is well.
All right, but we do want to say
Thank you to some awesome Kickstarter backers. So if you have supported us, we appreciate it. In particular, Wendy's going to pronounce all these names correctly.
100% correctly. Thank you, Bondwoo, Simone Netterman from Hom, Indigo the dog. She's a corgi, and she's not going to care how I pronounce it, so all is well there.
Then we'll pronounce it
What color is that
Indigo.
dog?
Indigo Montoya.
The color of corgis. What color are corgis? Stephen Tubert, Rick Strebel, Ed Hajin, Tracy's Shenanigans.
Absolutely.
Weird, your first name comes with apostrophe S. You own your last name.
There you go.
And your last name Shenanigans.
Chris's Yee.
Mark M. and Stephen Isaacson. Thank you so much for being backers. We appreciate all of your support very, very much.
As an update on the rest of the stuff with the Kickstarter, we have in, if not all of the promos, I think we were waiting on perhaps one.
No, I think they're all in.
I
We
think
they're all in now. Okay, that's it. We officially have all the promos in, and Camilla is actually in the other room getting stuff set up. So we're going to be packaging all
Collating.
collating,
Yay!
baby.
Bagging promos.
Yep, we're going to be bagging up all the promos so they're getting shipped out here, and so yeah, we're happy with the timing of things. So if you're a Kickstarter backer, things are moving along forward. The last thing is that we have a fantastic sponsor for today's episode of Board Game Breakfast, GripMat. So let's go ahead and cut to the sponsorship video, and then we'll jump to our eye catchers for today. This show is sponsored by GripMat. These custom playmats come in regular texture or with their custom grip surface, so cards, tiles, chits, and miniatures won't slide around during your games. Make setup a breeze, upgrade your play experience, or just beautify your table with a GripMat. Check out their Etsy store to see their huge selection of custom playmats for many of the best games on the market.
All right, it's time for Eye Catchers, and this is where we share some games that we're looking forward to, games that we've seen, or just things that are interesting in the hobby. So I'm going to start off with the game Rasafa. So this is one that I think is coming out at Essen. This is trading in the Middle East, which we've all seen many times before. But I guess the kind of selling point on this is that there is no water. So you have to build cisterns, you have to build canals, and you have to find ways to get water and build that kind of stuff while you're building routes. So it's water routes and trading routes, and you're trying to build your business and economic stuff. So it sounds interesting. And honestly, it reminds me of my Caesar 3 days of trying to build aqueducts across the video game so that I could, get water to my people.
You require more minerals.
Different game.
Different game. That was
Different
close.
game. Yeah, close. Yeah, so this is one that I'm just very curious about. It's got that nice Euro look to it. And yeah, we'll just see how the water and the trading routes go.
Oh, baby, are those tracks? This is Vladimir Suki, by the way.
I heard that you like the tracks, Chris.
Oh.
That
I like
tracks.
tracks.
But you like the water tracks?
I really like this. Buy my spice. Isn't your camel thirsty? Your garden is amazing.
Thanks
I
for
love
complimenting
those
my
little
garden.
sentences. They're always so crazy.
So descriptive.
that one's way more crazy than they normally are. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. Really, really is.
All right, my eye catcher for this episode here is the new raw mega Kickstarter pack that will be launching today. So you can get the deluxe Pharaoh edition of Raw again, and they're also doing Razzia, the card game. They're doing Raw and Write Raw, the Roll and Raw game, and then this is an expansion for Raw Traders, which this is one of those things where when you have a game from 1999 and now you come up with an expansion, I'm hesitant, but I'm also extremely curious. Do you remember For Sale Autorama?
Yes.
Where they're like, hey, let's make an expansion to a game. The classic game has been around for 30 years.
Let's make it more
and
complicated.
it sucked. But I have hope on this one. Like, maybe this would be great. Like, wouldn't it be weird if out of nowhere they were like, oh, let's just make more Pokemon cards? Like, that's never been done before.
What? Yeah, because this Reiner Knizia has no idea what he's doing, right? Is that what you're insinuating, Chris?
Absolutely.
So I think what you're saying is this set is Raw the card game. Because there's 3 Raws.
Cut the stream.
Get
I'm
it?
kidding.
It's
All right.
so funny.
We're done here, folks. No, I'm curious about this. I will definitely be trying this with the expansion, but also I want to try the other ones. I heard one Samuel Healy had a copy of Raw and Right. He was playing with people at the retreat, and I didn't get to jump into one of those games. So, yeah, at some point I'll try it.
I'm excited to see the combat mechanics. I don't think there's any combat mechanics.
I think there's
Just
auction
shouting
mechanics.
raw.
This one has traders, Roy. Traders.
Ooh,
What
so
kind-
social deduction now. Oh, not that kind of traders.
Different
Never mind.
traders.
My game, or it's not a game. Hey, my eye catcher is basically a index or like web app that people can use called Rule Pop. And basically this is a website that I talked to the creator of this, Jan, at Gen Con, and he was basically showing me how you could go through all the different indexes here for these different games that he's kind of put together. You can actually save these onto your phone as like, if you save one of them to your like home screen, it like populates as like a web app. So you can just have a click thing to just kind of come to these different rule indexes. And if you have any questions about the rules as you're playing the game and things like that, you can click on the different indexes for it. And it just helps you be able to find different stuff. It's like, oh, I'm playing, what is this, Sleeping Gods? Sleeping Gods. How do I do damage and health, or how do I do combat? And it just gives you like a summary of all of those different things. So if you want to have a bunch of different indexes about like, oh, what's the components of the game, or oh, what's this and that in the game, or how do I set things up and stuff like that, you can click on this and you'll be able to kind of track different things with the rule indexes. And the fact you can kind of like have these all as different web apps on your phone can give you like a nice little, when you have your folder on your phone. I'm not sure how Android does it, but you have your little folder and it's like, oh, look, I have all my little rulebook indexes. Let me click on the correct game, and it kind of like looks nice and everything like that. So he's putting these together for several different games. So feel free to check out Rule Pop if you have rules questions or want to be able to have quick access to indexes without having to flip through a rulebook quickly.
This is kind of cool, actually. Here's like dice thrown, like the different types of damage, the difference between unavoidable, undefendable, collateral, ultimate damage, all that type of stuff. Like those are the few little like, dice one's super easy to teach, and then you're like, what are these 5 damage types?
You know how Fantasy Flight, a lot of their games will have a rule book, and then they'll have like an index book. This is kind of like, oh, this gives you just an index book or whatever. It's like, oh, what does that keyword mean again? This is like the keyword finder sort of thing.
It is.
almost.
Well, that's the thing that's so interesting is that in our world where everything is searchable, board games are not. Like the
Right,
rule
yeah.
books are not. So this could be very useful.
So yeah, that is Rule Pop.
Very cool. No, I hadn't heard of this one.
But yeah, so I guess we will go ahead and get to our contributors.
Hi, this is Rich Saunders. Welcome to Co-op Gestalt, a place to talk about cooperative games, cooperative game mechanisms, and sometimes solo games. This week we're going to talk about the coming of Galactus. Yeah, this is part of this whole Marvel United multiverse, and this is my guess is be the first game anyone who gets the multiverse plays. But of course we're getting it because of the Galactus figure and all the wonderful little heralds that come with it. It's sort of interesting. This game was actually a little bit divisive for my game groups and also online. The first reason it was divisive is I ended up loving the game. I gave it a 9. My friends gave it a 7 and a 5 and a 4. Part of the reason they didn't like it so much is the Power Cosmic, which is one of the threat cards in the game, eliminates the special powers from the cards. These special powers make your characters individual. So it takes away all the things that make your card special, and you just use the symbols of the Marvel on the bottom of the Marvel United cards. So my friends actually didn't like this nearly as much as I did. Of course, I will admit I do love the Galactus miniature. Another reason this was hotly contested was because of one particular rule in the Galactus game, which also shows up in other Marvel United sets, is when you put a card, a master plan, a villain master plan card face down to the storyline. What does this mean? My interpretation is that you lost a turn and that you lost a master plan card, bringing the game closer to the end. However, online there was some contention over this, and most people claimed that it was more a matter of that you just lost a master playing card. One of my arguments against that was very simply, the rule would have stated more simply that you discard a master plan card rather than putting in the storyline. What's your interpretation of this? Let me know in the comments below. Do you believe that a master plan card put face down to the storyline loses you a turn and a card, or does it just lose you a card? Anyway, that's the coming of Galactus. What did you think of it?
Hey, what's up? It's Scott the Frozen Gamer with July's hottest games according to Board Game Geek. There wasn't a whole ton of movement in the top 10 this month. In 10th and dropping from 5th last month is Heat. It looks as though this may be the last month Heat is in the top 10 until another expansion comes out. Root jumped back into 9th from 17th. We just can't get enough of those cute woodland creatures. Sky Team, off of its Spiel des Jahres success, stays in at 8th. And the number one game of all time, Brass Birmingham, is holding steady at 7th. Slay the Spire dropped 100%, but that was just from 3rd to 6th. The Spirit Island, one of the oldies but goodies on the list, moved up from 9th to 5th this month. Harmonies has seen a little drop from 2nd to 4th. The charm is ever so slightly wearing off. I thought we saw the last of the Dune games in June, but Imperium Uprising jumped from 10th all the way to up to 3rd. And there's something about how Arc Nova just put all those mechanisms together that is keeping this game hot in at number 2. And do we have a new number 1 game this month? Of course not. The combo of Whirlian Leaders keeping Arcs blazing hot for 3 months now. Some of the other games of note for the month of July, out of nowhere, Azul jumped up 58 rankings from 127th to 69th. After having the most Dice Tower Award nominations, and I believe 1 win, Distilled jumped up 65 spots from 110th to 45th. And Danny Garcia's newly released Windmill Valley jumped the most 87 spots from 122nd to 35th. Coming off Barcelona, it's just no surprise at all that people are interested in Garcia's next game. Next is our top 3 games new to the list in July. In 3rd is Brink, coming off a huge marketing campaign that seemed to work. It's jumped in at 17th and 1.2 million funded on Kickstarter. Arcs, the Blighted Reach expansion, jumped in at 16th as people have jumped into the campaign mode of the game. And it feels like it's been a while since Stefan Feld has been a hot name to throw around, but he has the highest new game to the list in July with a Civ-styled game and maybe his heaviest to date, Civolution, in at number 13. That's it for July. See you soon with August list. Peace and stay cool.
All right, top 10 time. And hey, since we did come back from the retreat just recently, we're going to do our top 10 experiences from the retreat. And because the retreat is mostly just literally playing games nonstop, these are mostly games, I'm thinking. But yeah, I guess we'll see what all is on the list. I'm going to start here with the first one, and this is HeroClix. So me and Brian both enjoy HeroClix, and we've been talking about playing HeroClix together like every single time I see him on the cruise or at like Dice Tower East or even Dice Tower, like all these different events. I'm always like, dude, man, you like HeroClix? I like HeroClix. We should play HeroClix together. We've literally been talking about this for what seems like 5 years. Maybe more than 5 years.
And it finally happened?
It finally happened at the retreat.
Yay.
And that's the one thing that's cool about the retreat is like it gives you those opportunities to play those like bigger, more epic things because all you have time to do is just play games. There's not a whole lot of other things to do. It's like, let's go play all the games. And I really enjoy like setting up bigger, epic things to happen. So every single time I'm like, did you bring HeroClix? I don't have any HeroClix. Well, maybe we should go to the game store and buy some HeroClix. Well, we don't have time to do that. So I brought a bunch of my stuff. We drafted stuff with several people. We have Mike Heller in the back there and in chat.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Ruthie and Mike were beating the crap out of each other the whole game. It was hilarious. But yeah, and yeah, it was a lot of fun just getting together. We did decimate Brian, though, just to be fair. We destroyed the crap out of him.
To
good,
be
I'm
clear,
glad.
this makes us go up on my list.
Yeah, but it was a lot of fun. We did Battle Royale, and everybody just drafted characters, and it's just it's one of those games where yeah, there's some strategy, there's some stuff you can do, and there's a lot of different powers and stuff like that. So me and Brian the whole time we're like explaining all the powers to the other players, and a little bit of that negotiation of like, oh, let's attack Brian here because Brian picked Superman, so of course Superman could probably wipe the floor with anybody on the table, so we had to take down Superman first. A team effort. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Was this the first time everyone else had played?
Ruthie played with me a bunch of times. Of course, Brian's played a bunch. I'm pretty sure the other guys, it was their first time, so we had fun like teaching them the game and showing them. Oh, actually, no. the one guy had played like forever ago, like maybe first edition. I don't know if Mike Heller had played. Oh, Mike Heller did say it's his first time. There you go. So,
Nice.
but it was a lot of fun, and Mike was definitely support there for helping destroy different people. It was a lot of fun. So
Oh, good.
we all got to wreck each other.
Support crew.
There you go.
All right. Next up here, Wendy, number 9.
All right, my number 9 is oldies but goodies. It's always nice to go back to some games that I haven't played in a long time. I saw some people playing Dead of Winter, and they had one of those yellow flags up, and they needed a teacher, and I was like, ooh, I haven't taught this in a couple of years, and I haven't played it in even longer. So I got to sit down and play Dead of Winter. That was fun. I accidentally, originally I wasn't going to play. I was just going to teach them, and then I was like, I have time. Let me play. And so I didn't change it from the really hard version to the easy version, so we barely won. But I think it was a fun experience.
Seeing you guys play, just walking by, I'm like, Wendy's playing Dead of Winter. That's not a Euro game. I was really excited. I don't know
This
why.
used to be one of my most favorite games.
I know.
This used to be like in our top 5, probably.
Yeah, I think this was number 2 for me for a while. Yeah, I just really like it. But it was one of those that I feel like I'd explored everything. I'd played it so many times. And so it's fun to come back and kind of everything feels a little fresh again. But also playing Hansa Teutonica. I had someone ask to play Evacuation. And this is one of those that, like, if these oldie but goodie games don't get played year after year after year, eventually I have to take them off my top 100. And so it's fun to get back to these and be able to be like, okay, I still like these. These are fun.
Someone came up to me and said, hey, do you want to play Hansa Teutonica? And I was like, yes, I do, because, good heavens, that game is a hard sell to anyone. It's the most boring-looking game imaginable. And someone asking me, I was like, yeah, we can do that. We just got to find someone else who's free and wants to play it. And Tim Matevier, who runs Dice Tower West, Dice Tower West registration's open now. Tim is walking by, and I was like, this nerd likes Hansa Teutonica. So Tim and Dave, who co-run Dice Tower West, and Sam and I, not Sam Healy, but a different Sam and I sat down and we played Hansa, and it was so good. It was so fun to play with 4 people who knew it too, and to just like jump into it. Anyway, so this is me piggybacking off of yours.
Yes. No, so Tim had asked me to play at some point in the retreat, and then Chris told my spot. So I was like, Tim, we have to play again. So we did. And once again, it was another
awesome.
game where everybody knew it, everybody had played, and so it was great.
It was actually the same 3 other people.
It was,
and
right?
they just upgraded me for Wendy.
Oh,
But I was like,
it went so fast, and we just got destroyed. Like, it was great.
I didn't feel bad sneaking into Wendy's spot at first, because I was like, I know that these guys will just play it again later.
They will. They will. It was fabulous.
All right, my number 8, 3-time broom service at the retreat. So this is one of my favorite games that also happens to be one of Wendy's least favorite games.
That's right.
And so I seldom get to play this, and 3 different groups of people asked if I wanted to jump in and play with them, which the answer was yes.
And then I saw another group just play it without you.
I would say that this game was played at least 10 times at the retreat.
Oh, you saw it that many times?
It was out a lot. So the second game I happened to be playing with Trey, who he's probably the second most frequent champion of this game.
He's actually the reason we have it in the Dice Tower library.
Yeah, he donated a copy to it so that we would have it. And he did it in the most Trey way possible. He just walked up to Tom and goes, "You're supposed to have this." So I got to play on like the advanced side of the board with him and a few other people, but I also taught it the other 2 times. And so it's funny because the third time, I'm drawing a blank on his name, but he came out to me and he was like, "Hey, we talked about maybe having you teach this to me 2 retreats ago." I was like, "Yeah, let's make that happen now." So, yes, got that played 3 times, and it was a joy every single time.
Nice. My second game on my experiences with Mike Heller list is Heroscape. Oh, it's not that list. Anyway, I played Heroscape in the early morning with Rod, and Rod did some playtesting on the game. He's designed some of the new factions, so he was super jazzed to play. And so I was like, I'm going to get up early and play with Rod just because Rod's like a champion of this game, and he like loves it so much. Because I had played it actually a time earlier, but it was really fun getting up early and putting together our armies and doing all this stuff. And then Rod just wiped the floor with us mostly, and we were working together to stop him. We did another battle royale in this game. I don't know. I have fun playing games where you can like kind of a little bit negotiate, or maybe like I'm gonna be real quiet and see if nobody attacks me, sort of thing, or be like we gotta get him. It's just kind of fun for me. I like that back and forth and like a little bit of backstabbing and like stuff like that. But it was fun because we watched people's armies get decimated, and we're doing all the rolls. It's just one of those lucky games of like. That negotiation makes the game part of it as well. It's like there's so much luck in the game that's like if you're playing just straight strategically, it just could just win either way. But talking them into like go attack them and not me is kind of fun. But
Take out them polar bears.
Rod was boasting and bragging like the entire time about this and that and like all this stuff. One of my favorite things is like when Rod had like only 3 people left, we had killed everybody off. And Mike had like this dragon, and he was like, "Man, I need to like turn this dragon around and go attack Rod." Rod had all of his people up on a thing, and Mike's like, "I can't even get my guys up on this mountain." And Rod's like, "I know it's dragon proof." And we're like, "You designed the map so it would be dragon proof?" He's like, it's just hilarious how well Rod knew the game and how much fun it was, like all working together to try to take him down, but also beating each other in the face when we could as well. But yeah, we had a lot of fun with it.
I'm glad it got played because we brought this huge tote that Tom, his daughters, and I had like put together over like a week before the retreat.
You'll be seeing the tote featured here shortly.
Oh
Yes.
my.
Not here in the top 10, but
Tote, Ali, awesome.
But yeah. So yes, this episode of Board Game Breakfast by Mike Heller. Next.
number 6.
Oh, this is me.
That's you.
So there are tons of new games that came out kind of around Gen Con time, and I was excited to play so many of them, and I just didn't get to them. It just happens. You know, I mean, there's so many games, so many reviewers, so many whatever. So I got to play a ton of the games that I felt like I had missed, and that was like my main goal of the retreat, and I feel like I did it. So I mean, like Harmonies, the Aquatica expansion, Creature Caravan, River Gold, you know what I mean? And then I also played Flip City again, which Chris and I had tried Link City, what am I saying? Link City, which Chris and I had tried at 2 players, and that was awful. But it was way more fun with a big group. I played that a couple times. I actually played Harmonies, and then I played another game, and then I taught Harmonies right after. So it's fun. It was just absolutely fabulous to catch up on those games because there's so many good games that come out kind of all at once in the year. And it's so hard to get to all of them. So this was perfect for me.
Yeah, retreat's a good time to definitely catch up on a lot of good games and everything.
Also, they were all good.
Oh yeah, that is
all
convenient.
Good. Yeah.
I really want to play Creature Caravans again.
Oh my gosh, yes. It is definitely a you game. Let's see. Number 5 here was playing Spidergeddon with both of our premier moderators here, Mike Heller and Loopy over there. So we played Spidergeddon. We were playing, I forget the name of this particular villain. I was kind of tired. But I forget who he was. He's the one who just, when he KOs a character, he removes them from the game.
Oh, dang.
Oh, that's crazy.
And so the Spidergeddon box comes with, I think, 8 characters because 4 people can be playing. And then if your character gets knocked out, it is removed from play. You have to stomp on the miniature and burn the cards, and then you grab a different character.
Like Legacy style?
And exactly, right?
Okay.
That's how they're selling so many copies of this. You grab a new character and set it up, and so you have to play a completely different Spider-Man character. And we lost our first 2 really quickly. And I don't want to point fingers that they were both Mike Heller, but they were both Mike. And we lost our 3rd one fairly quick. And I was like, well, it looks like I'm going to get lunch after this really quick.
It sounds like you were a bad teammate.
Mike's the one getting killed, okay? And so like we lost the characters pretty quickly, but we were able to swing things around. Swing. And we ended up winning. We ended up knocking this guy out with like a couple of just really nice last-minute card plays that just kind of came all together. And so we got to actually have a fairly quick win when it looked like we were just toast. So yeah, that was a pretty epic game. That was fantastic fun. And it's nice to meet. I mean, this is gonna sound silly, but like when I met Mike and when I met Loopy and stuff, I was like,
you guys are famous.
it's Loopy from the chat.
Yes.
It's Hypnotoad. I
exciting.
love if you're ever at a convention and you are someone who comments or chats regularly if you come up to us and say like, "Hey, I am Bruce Schring," we'll be like, "Wow,
Never heard of that person.
It's so nice to actually meet those people and like put a human face to a made up name like Bruce Schring."
It really
It's gotta
is.
be a
It's very
name.
exciting.
Yes. All right, number 4, Roy.
Number 4. So I bought this floating globe thing with the idea of really wanting to add it to a gigantic Last Light game. And so I've been concocting this idea. And last year at the retreat, I played a 12-player game of Last Light. So this year I was like, how can I make this globe thing work? Because it was too big to fit in the middle of like a regular board. So I was like, but what if I put 4 boards together? And actually on Photoshop, I had like the board and I like put it together. I'm like, they kind of like match. They kind of fit. So I put together and kind of like mathed it all out. I set it up on like my floor at my house and be like, okay, I'm going to put these planets here. I'm going to put this stuff here. And I basically planned to have this gigantic 16-player game of Last Light. And I basically wrote it up on the board and like put it out there. I didn't even have like, I think it was like maybe a day before I posted like, hey, I'm going to have this crazy game. Do people want in? But after that, I just went around and like dragged people into the game. Not dragged people in. I was like, hey, does anybody want to play? And there were people crazy enough to say yes. But we got our full 16-player count. Me and Ruthie played with all these different people. And the crazy thing is that it like actually worked out of all my mad scientists. Like the fact that Last Light's simultaneous and it goes so quickly. And the fact that I had this interaction where there's actually 5 different stars instead of the 1 star you normally have. And each of those boards is rotating normally. But I made it so that in the center star, you get like 3 light as well. So that way it kind of forces people to want to go to the center. But we end up doing a 16-player game of this in like 90 minutes. And half of the table was new to Last Light.
That's awesome.
I kept explaining to people, this is not how crazy the game normally is. It's not normally this chaotic. There's not normally that many people fighting you. But it was fun and it was madness. And even with all those many people, like the combats didn't get as out of hand as I thought they were going to. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Did you find a way to like Zolkin style connect the
I
wheels
wish I could have
so that
rotated
you
the
could
whole
just
thing.
rotate one and they all go? Like that would
Rotate
be
the
so
center
cool.
megastar.
I wish
that'd be so
I
cool.
had the time for that. If I could have, I would have made it so that you rotate all of these and then the whole thing kind of rotates and leaves the outside like still static where it is. But yeah, I didn't have the time or insane.
This looks like one of those like giant decoder machines.
And so many people have said, put the rules up on BGG. I mean, it's really just putting a bunch of boards together and throwing planets out there, and it just kind of works. But yeah, it's insane and massive, but it worked, and everybody who played said they had a blast, and I gave the winner a copy of the game. So that was fun.
Rule number 1: buy 4 copies of my game.
Yeah, see, that's what my developer was like. Hey, I'm gonna put a pack on our website right now. 4 copies of Last Light if you want to play 16-player game.
Oh, my
Retail
goodness.
pledge or the candidate special.
Yeah, I don't think people should do this because I think the game definitely plays best at like 4, 5, and 6 probably. But I really enjoyed it, and we had a lot of fun. And the retreat's just here for those epic experiences. I've done 8-player battle or 8-player Battle Lore, and Chris played with me back in the day in that. I've done like 8-player Heroes of Land and Sea. I like pushing games beyond like what they can normally do, and I normally do that with other games long before like ever designing stuff. But now I can do it with my own game. Why not?
Hey,
That's fun.
I'm waiting for 32-player.
I'm not going up any higher. I need to figure. I'm gonna find a different game to do crazy stuff with. It'll be fun.
Chat's pointing out. Just go up.
Go up.
Just go
Oh,
up.
the levels?
It's Last Lights all the way down.
Oh my
No, I'm just
goodness.
kidding.
It's true. Space is not flat.
No, there's true.
Space is in 3D.
There's also one under the floor
Problem
of
is
the table.
it's harder because we have gravity to like make this stuff happen.
All right, Wendy, number 3.
All right, my number 3 is late night shenanigans. So there's a couple nights I stayed up way later than I should have, especially the last night of the con. This is one thing that's always like, I feel like you create those special bonds with people as you're playing stupid party games when you're at a point where your brain doesn't work. I mean, stay cool. There was a point where I couldn't even read the cards as the card reader. I was like tripping over words. I was struggling so hard.
I bet the people answering your questions loved that.
Oh, yes, I'm sure. It was fun to pull out Beyond Balderdash again. That's one I hadn't played in years. And then Poetry for Neanderthal just got recently added to the Dice Tower library. We're still trying to figure out what to do with like the wacky stick thing. And then my favorite from So Clover was that Joey was the common magician. There we go.
That's a diss track if I've ever heard it. Let's see where I put your name next time I play So Clover.
Yes.
No, that was definitely good. I taught to stay cool to Evan Hughes, Dan's kid, Dan's son, just like massively adult son now. I was like, holy crap! It doesn't look like the videos I saw 6 years ago.
It's amazing how kids grow.
Yeah, but I taught that to him, and he just like at one point he had a brain meltdown. It was amazing.
Stay Cool's an anxiety machine for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Whoops. Okay, number 2, Carnival of Chaos. So Restoration Games is one of the sponsors there at the retreat, and so they have a few tables reserved. They had crossbows and catapults, and they had Joey is calling you out, Wendy.
What?
He's too late. We've already slid.
Joey, you are
slide.
common in our life, meaning you're a regular occurrence. Hey.
Hashtag no-
I'm Joey.
And a magician. Oh, yeah, you got to find that short if you haven't watched that. Oh.
So Restoration Games had one of the tables set up there with Carnival of Chaos, the upcoming expansion for Thunder Road Vendetta. And I didn't realize this. The 3 boards that you start on from the side are just regular boards from Thunder Road, and they tuck under that center thing. I thought I thought it came with like maybe special short road paths or something like that, because those are.
Oh, it just sits on top?
No, it slides in.
Yeah, each of the tracks slide in from the side underneath that center. And so the center is raised up, and there's 2 sides to it. Anyway, it was a wild death match. Chrissy, I'm still really sorry. She accidentally got 2 of her cars taken out, and I was like, I'm kind of in the lead if I take out Chrissy's last car. So I just threw everything I had at her tiny little buggy, totally took her out. And then I totally didn't win because the player after me, we finished out the round, and he just like took out 5 things, earned like 15 scrap, and was like, yeah, I guess I win then.
Did anybody stop on the poles as they pop up and like wreck their cars?
Oh, it was so close. Yeah, it was. We had a few after they popped up. People crash each other into the poles.
That's what you got to do.
Yeah, this was a good chaotic game, and I like that they went for a wildly big expansion for it.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it was really neat having it set up. So we got to go through the chat here to figure out what was the number 1.
I should actually do that. Oh my goodness. I should have been thinking about this a little bit better.
Yeah, I saw a few good ones here. Loopy had one that popped out to me for sure. Let's see if we can find it. What is the chat's number 1 experience from the Dice Tower Retreat?
I feel like most people had said stuff at the beginning.
Yeah, it was a little bit earlier on.
What is everybody's number 1 experience?
So about this Carnival of Chaos. It was
I want to hear more about this because I didn't even look at it really. I was like, oh, Thunder Road Vendetta set up. I didn't even notice that it's in a Y shape. Like, there's like the angles.
It's flux capacitor shape for sure.
Yeah, my brain didn't process that.
So you're not allowed to put the choppers out on the outside tracks. So you have to go into the Thunderdome. And then at the end of each round, there's also a Tiny Tina deck or whatever it is, whoever the lady is who's the owner of the Thunderdome. So you flip over an event card, and then all of a sudden stuff is just like going to happen at the end of each round.
This one? I'm just kidding.
Oh, and Loopy had one where he said that he beat Tom Vassell in.
I want to do this one because this one's the best.
All right,
this
let's
is
do it.
Loopy says my number 1 would absolutely be meeting so many amazing people, including the Dice Tower crew. That's one of the cool things about the retreat is the fact that we have so many like common people that like we really feel like they're basically that's our game group, right? Like there's so
Common
many
people
people.
like
they're
Joey.
friends
all the
now.
time.
They're not just guests.
Yeah, so it's just fun to see so many familiar faces and meet so many people and like hang out with them. And it's like a great gathering where we get to come together and and being able to actually interact like close with people is really fun. So
I would say that it feels like at least a third of the people there have been to more retreats than I have.
Right.
Which is, I've been to a lot of
Yeah,
them at
that's
this point.
true. That is true.
There are people who have come to like 5 or more of the retreats, and one of the things they do so well is that they're still welcoming and will play with anyone. It has not become cliquish, even though there's people who clearly, have come since like the first retreat that up the street here that are friends and they're like, oh, I'm so excited to hang out with you guys. but also play with others.
That's one of the things I love that we foster at like our Dice Tower events is a lot of events I go to and it's like game groups and they play just with each other. Like at our Dice Tower events, we really want people to like get out there, meet new people, play with different people. And the fact is like, oh, I'll play a game here with you guys. Okay, I'll switch up and now I'm going to play a game with these guys and now meet new people and play. Oh, well, you guys want to play that? Our players wanted signs and our teachers wanted signs are like all over the place. And you can just always jump into games with anybody. And it's just so fun.
It's interesting because at the retreat, those signs don't last long. Like if you look around the room, you're like, there's not a lot of players wanted signs. It's because people hop in as soon as they get put up.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah.
So that is our top 10 of things at the retreat. Let's keep going.
Hello, this is Oliver, and I just want to tell you a quick story. My dad was gnoming around, and he picked up this game, and that game is called Gnome Hollow, right? I was right. Quick story. And I just want to get straight into this one. I really like the theme of this game, and I know I say that a lot, but it's a theme that a lot of people, I feel like, can get into. Because it's literally just about gnomes making mushroom circles. And I think it can't be taken that seriously. Like, what can be taken less seriously than that? But some people don't want to play those big old war games, and some people just want to settle down and make some gnome circles or some mushroom circles. I totally understand. And I just think the theme overall is pretty cute. Another thing I like is the art in this game. As silly as the theme is in this game, I think the art is really beautiful and it's very colorful, and you can see that throughout the game. Some games don't keep the consistency throughout, like the cover of the game and the board, but all of it's just colorful throughout, and they embrace that, which I love. And then also, the components in this game are awesome. They have those little wooden gnome guy pieces, and then the little wooden sign pieces, which are really nice to interact with, and the magnetic player boards are so cool because I tend to be pretty clumsy with my games and knock my boards and everything falls over and I have to figure out where things were, so I'm glad I don't have to worry about being clumsy in this game. I also like how you can go for several different goals. Like you can try to get you can try to strategize and make a pretty long or large circle out of mushrooms and try to see how many mushrooms you can get, and then selling those mushrooms and trying to race with your opponent to try to get more points, and also just get some points for flowers. I just like how you can go several different avenues with it. And that is what I wanted to share today, Gnome Hollow, and have a good breakfast. Bye.
Happy breakfast, everyone. Today I'm here to talk to you about Micro Macro Crime City Showdown. This is the fourth one of this sort of experience. Some people really don't want to call it a board game because it's almost like Where's Wally, Where's Waldo, depending on where you're from, and you're kind of just finding things on this map, doing mystery-y sort of finding things experience. It's all about seeing those subtle details and all that sort of goodness as you're finding clues and details on the map. So the game comes with 16 cases, and these vary in length. The ones you're going to see in this video, sort of pictures of, they're only of the introduction, that tutorial case. I didn't want to show you any of the cards from the rest, although you will see some pictures of the map, but with no context, you know, that's absolutely fine. There should be no spoilers apart from that for tutorial case. On those cases, it does have a little bit of an iconography to let you know how adult a theming that case is going to be, just to help you if you're playing with younger children. I have absolutely loved playing through Micro Macro Crime City Showdown. I've enjoyed the other boxes as well. It's not necessarily that this one is better, this one's just a new one that you should, I think, give a go. People do have a bit of a debate. Is it a board game? Is it just an experience? I don't care. It's a fun board game experience. Because, yeah, it's not tiles and stuff going on, it's just kind of finding things on a map. That's a lot of fun to do, and I really enjoyed playing through the cases, so I can highly recommend it. Anyway, that is Micro Macro Crime City, and I hope you've enjoyed me talking about it, and until next time, enjoy the rest of your breakfast.
What we do here is go back.
So we're looking at old school games from quite a while ago, and we realized, hey, 10 years ago, Uwe Rosenberg fell off of the farming wagon and fell into the polyomino wagon.
The quilting
You got
wagon?
a Game Boy?
The quilting wagon, yeah.
Started playing Tetris?
Yeah, you got a Game Boy Color, thank you. So we're talking today about Patchwork. This one is, as I said, a decade old now, and there's a lot of polyomino games out there. I'm not really sure which is the main one that kind of like started it off, but this is the one that gets, I think, the most credit for being like that perfect kind of cozy, puzzly, especially as a 2-player game. So, Roy, have you played Patchwork before?
Yeah, I played it. You're just collecting them polyominoes and put them on your board and trying to not lose points by not having enough, you know. But I think I've only played it a couple times.
Ooh, look at that fancy edition right
With
there.
them buttons.
What is all about them buttons?
So my first experience with Patchwork was Chris was excited about it, and we played it on an app. And I didn't realize in the app that you could look ahead to see the future tiles, like the whole rondelle of tiles. And so I hated it at first, and I was like, I don't ever want to play this again. This is awful. Like, I can only get one of these through next 3 tiles. I can't plan ahead. I can't anything. And then Chris was like, no, you can just move it. And so at some point I played it in the real version, and I just preferred the tactile nature of it. But yeah, it's one that grew on me. I like it now.
It's funny because it is simultaneously a really good app. Like, it is a great app implementation of the game, but also it's lacking in that sense of so much about this game is planning ahead.
Yeah,
like how many
seeing
steps
that
you,
whole circle.
because you want to play denial. You want to make it so your opponent can't get any of those pieces, or it's going to be really costly for them. And it's one of those games that I find is kind of like Carcassonne, where people describe it as like, it's so cozy. It's a nice little tiling game.
Until you're hate
You're
drafting
like,
polyominoes.
Yeah.
You're like, that would fit great in your board, but I'll make it work in mine.
I'm gonna keep all the buttons from you that you can afford. Yeah. This was I think my very first time as a resource game. So or how do you explain this? Like a timer game? How do you? What is the mechanic for that?
Time track.
Just time track, yeah. This was the first that I ever experienced with that. So you're like trying to balance not spending time, but also getting buttons so that you can afford to buy future stuff, but also you don't want to run out of time because then you can't buy future stuff. So that combination was it was mind melding for me at first. Did you guys have like a first experience just being like, no, I get it?
With like the time track and everything?
Like the time tracking and the resources and balancing that was just, I don't know. This game, I
don't know
blame
if
it on the
I
app.
played it that seriously. It was more just like, okay, yeah. You know?
Okay.
So I wasn't
Well,
I wasn't playing hardcore. I wasn't
win it.
playing at World Series of Board Game levels like you were, Wendy. You were like,
Patchwork. I lost $10,000 to Patchwork.
Playing this at the level of like those people in the World Series of Board Gaming would be
stressful.
Rough. The other thing that I want to say about this game is that I don't know why Patchwork has become like the quintessential, super successful, printed in like 40 different versions game.
I mean, if it works, it works.
The Halloween one is supposed to be one of the more balanced ones, right?
They rebalanced the tiles. I guess there's going to be an anniversary edition coming out, but like they have editions for so many different countries, and in different language editions and stuff. They have like 40 of these: Christmas edition, Americana, Folklore China, Folklore Poland, Folklore Scandinavia, and it was really funny because I was like, wow, this game must just be such a huge mega seller. And then at Essen last year, we went by the Lookout Games booth, and they just had stacks and stacks of Patchwork clearance. Like they just had all these different editions. So I guess they sold their 200 copies of Folklore Poland that were going to be sold, and then they were just like price slashed. They're selling for like under $10.
Oh my goodness.
Well, it was like print run of like 500.
Oh, really? Gotcha.
And there was quite a lot left of each of the different.
Interesting.
Yeah, of like the different ones. But, you know, it's also neat that if you lived in Taiwan, you could get Patchwork Taiwan, I suppose, right?
That's cool.
But I don't know why they went so hard into printing in like all these different countries.
We need a Patchwork the Yees. It's literally just like Chris's and Wendy, like in different
Face
poses.
and polyomino.
There's you guys in different poses as the different polyominoes.
Yes.
Oh.
Fitting onto
Big
a board.
L. Woo! Here's the zany Y.
Yay. So
They're all just in the shapes of Y's and I's.
our new upgrade sponsor for our games that Tinkertown Games is actually sponsors some of the upgrades in our games, and they have upgrades for Patchwork, And they have like these stacks of sewn together buttons
Oh, nice.
that look really cool so that you can collect stacks of 5 buttons or stacks of 1. You know what I mean? It's just pretty cool. You gonna show that off?
Deluxe upgrades.
Yeah. It's funny because we have the Halloween version, but I threw them in anyways because they're just cool.
Yeah, where is... How
Are
do
you
I...
able to
Find
search?
L Patchwork.
Yeah, how do I do
There
this?
should be a
Popular
thing.
board games. Do you see a search feature somewhere? I'm struggling.
Oh, there they are, right there, the blue things. The blue
Heyo.
beads. Yeah.
That's
So
pretty
they're
cool.
just like little stacks of sewn together buttons.
Like they're actually like strung together.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
impressive.
yeah. They're pretty cool.
That is cool.
So it was a fun upgrade.
Nice.
Anyway, yeah, classic game. I think it's a super. Oh, those are the time trackers or the thimbles? Mm-hmm. That's kind of dumb and amazing.
That is cool.
Wow, that is cool. Anyway, yeah. So Patchwork, I think, is a classic game. I'm glad that it exists in its many, many, many editions. But one I'll come back to, I think, mostly and just kind of play casually in the app against the computer because Wendy hates it.
I don't hate it anymore.
No, I would give it like a
Just the
7,
app.
I think.
I just hate the app.
Yeah, I'm kind of like right around there. Well, there you go. That's our old school game.
This is a segment where we take a look at a board game based on an IP, and I tell you the IP and the mechanisms match. Today we're looking at Winnie the Pooh Snow Parade. The first thing you do is you can simply play a card onto the discard pile, and you can move them up one location or back. So we definitely want to move Piglet towards the back. Instead of doing that, the second possible action you have is you could discard a Piglet card, and another player can discard, say, an Eeyore card if you wanted to, and you can swap the location of those 2 cards. So now we have Piglet at the back where we want him to be, and I was able to quickly do that without having to play cards to do that. And we got Eeyore more towards the front, which is where we want him to be. The other thing you can do is you can simply, your third possible action is to discard your cards and draw 2 new cards. But remember, when this deck runs out, the game will be over, so discarding cards can be rather dangerous. What you're trying to do is accomplish this. So you can play an easy game where you accomplish 3 of these. You can do a medium game where you complete 4, or you can do a hard game where you complete 5. The biggest complaint I had about this game was it was already released as Frosty the Snowman, and that wasn't on the box. So I wasn't really sure when this was kind of an instant purchase. I didn't know it was the same game I was purchasing, so boo for that. As for the game itself and where the mechanisms and the gameplay matches, yeah, I could see the characters of Winnie the Pooh getting together and have that get in a parade, and they're all getting out of a jumbly line, and what order they will be in, and the players are playing cooperatively to get them in. It kind of plays like maybe an episode or a book of Winnie the Pooh. I could see this happening. There's nothing in it. It's like Winnie the Pooh-ish. Obviously, you can just put another theme right on this. Could be the Avengers. It could be whatever order, the Teenage Mutant Turtles, whatever. But somehow it has kind of a wholesome feel to it. And it's a nice, not so much Christmas game, but a winter-themed game, which I find pretty fun. The game itself is pretty darn solid for a children's game. It's a nice little cooperative game. Does the IP and the mechanisms match? I guess as well as it could. You're not going to feel like you're in that universe, but it works fine.
Hey, Board Gamers, BJ from Board Game Gumbo here, back on the breakfast. This time talking about a flip and write game, Cartographers. I just want to look at my top 3 map packs. The first one I want to look at is Nebulous. It's the Plane of Flame. And what I like about this one is the tension that's created by these 3 volcano cards. You pick one of these 2 sheets, and both of them have a volcano on it and other stuff. And when those cards come out, you've got to destroy spaces on your sheet that match up to those shapes. And that's that tension that I like. When is that card going to come out, and what is it going to do to the map as you're playing? All right, next up, let's look at Undercity, Depths of Sabek. And what's cool about this one is it introduces 2 parts to the map, kind of an exploration feature. So you can do either side that you want, but this gate here, anytime you go in the underworld section, it has to be able to connect back to the gate. And last but not least, Frozen Expanse, Realm of Frost Giants, which throws in a couple little tweaks. Number 1, come on, it's got the Direwolf card, and I love any kind of cards that have wolf. But it comes with 2 maps, double-sided, and the 2 key features of this is that Frozen Lake, which you're trying to surround so that you can get some more coins. Also, and probably the bigger twist, because that's something we've seen before, is these scouting locations. It's kind of hard to see on the screen, but each one of these locations is one of the 4 main terrain types, and they're kind of shaded. So you when you play on those areas, you have to play with those types of terrain types. They've already been scouted. You've got some advanced knowledge about this map. And that's a cool twist. I like that. All right, there's a bunch of map packs for cartographers and cartographer heroes, but these are 3 of my favorites. I'm curious as to which ones are yours. Till next time, laissez le bon temps rouler.
Well,
All
our
right.
mailman today is from the chat and was at the retreat.
It was at the retreat, and here it is, the return of the tub.
So the question of the day is going to be, are there some games you'd rather collect than play?
Well, that didn't work out.
We may have to update.
I mean, everything else is updated here.
One moment for the technical difficulties.
You know what we can do is we can just...
Is it here?
Is it on your computer,
says
Chris?
20 hours ago. Is it slightly titled something different?
No, I thought I updated it. Yeah. I'm so tired.
He put a space in there.
Where'd I put it? Where'd I put that video?
Let's find the
It
secret
says-
mailman. The big surprise.
Yes.
It'll happen. It'll happen, Captain.
I don't want to drag it on top of us because it'll mess up the scene behind the scenes.
Let's see. So
Is it
this
melting
here,
different?
new breakfast stuff, buildbag.mov.
Things here. Which one?
Oh, it's because that was an MP4.
Oh, okay. Well, let me switch, and I will go and find it. But we're gonna do the wrong thing for half a second.
Wrong.
So the question of the day is going.
Oh, hello. I was looking for this note that Chris sent me. A question he sent. I don't know why, but he's asking me, when do big games work? Gloomhaven hit #1 on BGG. Foundations of Rome is a well-rated or for a fairly light game, but very good looking and easy to set up. While some big box options like Everdell seem to have taken a hit for the big box. I think big games work in a way like Gloomhaven and the Everdell big box when it becomes more of a lifestyle. For me and myself and my family, we play a lot of Everdell, and my wife loved it, and we got the big giant fridge box, and it became a problem for us when we played it because it was just so big, especially when you start getting all those expansions and then it becomes so bloated. You don't know what to add. You get somebody new coming, and then it gets really hard to want to play it and teach it without all those expansions in there, and then you have to separate it all out. And then you get this giant refrigerator-sized box that doesn't fit in a standard shelf like a Calyx or any other Better Homes and Garden shelving system. And it becomes a barrier to, well, I can't even bring this game out anymore. Foundations of Rome got that way too, which is why something like Foundations of Metropolis also works in the sense that it's small enough and it becomes more of a budget type game. It makes it so it works if it's like a lifestyle game, where for me personally, I have the Oathsworn system, which is 4 giant boxes, and those boxes become a problem with storage. But as long as you're playing it, it's not that big of a deal. But I can definitely see why it would be a problem. I see why it would be an issue, why you wouldn't want to have that kind of system running around in your house, if you're especially in an apartment or a small living space, or have a limited to a small budget or small living area for storage and with your board games as well. So it can be a big barrier, I think, but it can be manageable, and hopefully that helps a lot. Oh, hello.
Yay. Thanks, Mike.
Mike Heller on the Dice Tower.
You know what he says about like Gloomhaven, the idea of like if you can leave it set up for a while and get multiple plays out of it, that's what we would do with Gloomhaven. Is we'd pull it out, we play it for a few times in a week, and then we put it away for a month and be like, that's gone. Let's set it up again in a month or two.
Yeah, I think that his point about like lifestyle games, if you have like a mega huge box, and that's going to be your game for a while, then that's great. We sometimes we catch flack that we're like, the Dice House complained about another huge campaign game. People love the 130-hour campaign, hour-long campaign games. Like, well, that is true. When you love it, you love it, but not everyone has time for those, and not everyone has time to back 5 of those games and own them all at the same time.
I love like Dungeons and Dragons, which is a giant campaign. But one of the main reasons why I don't play D&D nearly as much as I used to just be D&D and Magic and stuff like that, but I don't play D&D anymore is because it's so hard to get the same group back together a lot of times,
Yeah.
So those big massive games like that are campaigns, I'm less likely to play them, but if they have like one-shot stuff, I'm more into it,
Yeah, and that's the funny thing. He makes the point about the question particularly asked about the Everdell big box. Like, why did everyone kind of dunk on that so much? And the point of the
space.
The space. When is Everdell going to become your lifestyle game if it isn't already? You know what I mean? If you because there are people. For when Wendy and I got in the hobby, Dominion was our lifestyle game.
Yes.
And if they came out with like a mega box crate that had all of it,
oh, we would have been so on top of that.
It's kind of interesting too, like even games in your own collection, that end up getting too big. Like I have tons and tons and tons of Marvel Legendary, and sometimes you get so much of it that it ends up becoming abrasive to even it's hard to even get it out because it's like, okay, where's this deck and where's that thing? It starts to get big, and when you get that game in and it's already that big, it's like, how do you even fit that? Like, where do you start? It's like a lot to bite off,
We have that same struggle with the Dice Tower library.
Right.
For one thing, those big boxes just don't really fit on our shelves well. But then on top of that, we just got rid of our giant set of Marvel Legendary and we parsed it down to a much smaller, approachable set because it's too much. And at some point, people just aren't going to play it if it's too much.
Right.
Yeah. At convention libraries, big boxes don't get pulled off the shelves much, right? We probably had 0 plays of like Carcassonne the big box, whereas just like the regular box of Carcassonne we had separately, and that one would get played. I think that I do make fun of Carcassonne the big box because they're like, we'll just like pick a smattering of random expansions and throw it in there. But that's not a bad way to do it. Have like a curated the big box that has the most popular expansions. Isle of Skye big box, we reviewed that. And it was so funny.
It's in a normal size box.
Well, it's a little bit bigger than the original, and they just didn't include the first expansion, which most people didn't really like. And so they didn't feel the need to also pack it in there. They just said, like, hey, here's the stuff that sells well that everyone really likes. Here's Isle of Skye, the big box. And I think that that's kind of humorous and silly, but at the same time, probably a good marketing move and probably something people appreciate that they don't have to own Isle of Skye in a Calyx-sized crate.
Well, I remember we got the Alhambra big box once upon a time, and some of the expansions were good and some weren't. And then we just had them all. Yeah. That's a good point.
But, but for me, I still really like what Pegasus does with, like, a Hansa Teutonica big box. It's like 3 extra maps. And I think 1 little deck of cards. And it all fits in a normal size box. And I love it. That's my favorite, like, the big box. Is when we're like, hey, here's like 1 or 2 expansions, put it in a normal size box, and you're good. You own all of it now. Istanbul is the same way. Do you have
I want the Last Light big box, the 16-player big box.
Yeah, I think that's not going to happen. But I do think that, I don't know that I own any things that are like combination big boxes at all in my own personal collection. Actually, I guess I have, the biggest one I have is just the Dune Imperium thing that adds the extra like miniatures to it, but I wouldn't consider that a big box, because it's not adding extra expansions to it.
Do you have the expansions in it?
No, I don't have any expansions for Dune Imperium. I just play it base vanilla when I normally play. So.
Oh, I see.
I play Uprising, by the way. Uprising. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess you have to be really, really into the one game to make that happen,
I think that's the hardest thing is like, and I really like the way that Mike said it. If it's kind of your lifestyle game, then that Everdell big box is super cool. But if it is just a game you want to play casually amongst a slew of other games, then some of those big boxes are just terrible ideas, I feel like, for personal collections.
Or like Castle Panic. If you need another place to live, like if you need an outback shed, you can just start living in the Castle Panic box.
All right, folks. That has been Board Game Breakfast 507. We're back from the treat now. We've got a slew of stuff coming up. We have a review going up today, I believe, of River Valley Glassworks from All Play. We'll have River of Gold, and we're going to have nothing but river games of reviews going up this week. Is that
See,
true?
that's why my eye catcher was so good, because you're making canals.
River Rafsa. What was it again? Mufasa. What
There
did
you
I catch
go.
with Mufasa?
It's Rasafa.
All right, folks. Thanks so much for watching another episode of Board Game Breakfast. I'm Chris Yee.
I'm Wendy Yee.
And I'm Roy Kennedy.
Have fun gaming. Hopefully, at the Dice Tower Retreat.
Hey folks, thanks for watching another one of our videos. If you like our videos, if you like our channel, you would love to game with us at one of our conventions. Check out Dice Tower Cruise, Dice Tower East, and Dice Tower West. Fantastic conventions where we play games with wonderful people, a humongous library, and lots of other events and stuff. Also, don't forget to check out our channel, like and subscribe. I'm Tom Bassel.